Harvard and Yale University professors are advising President Biden to create a climate visa and pursue other policies to help Central Americans deal with purported fallout from climate change. The 90-page report, created in conjunction with the University Network for Human Rights, argues that climate change will displace nearly 4 million people in Central America over the next 3 decades. We cannot wait another 25 years to address these issues. The Biden administration must reform our immigration infrastructure now, said clinical professor of law Deborah Anker at Harvard Law School, a co-author of the report, in a press release. As explained by the report's summary, because the United States is one of the world's greatest emitters of greenhouse gases and a contributor to the political instability in the region, the United States must bear responsibility in ensuring that those who are forced to migrate can do so with security and dignity. Because countries are devastated not only by rapid weather events but also by slow-moving environmental crises, such as droughts and coastal erosion, the Biden administration should consider making programs such as temporary protected status, deferred enforced departure, and humanitarian parole available also to those facing slow-onset events as both urgent and worthy of special attention. Additionally, the professors recommended extending emergency disaster aid funds internationally, broadening the definition of public or national interest to encompass the climate migration nexus, and creating a climate visa, which would offer a path to permanent residency and citizenship. The report condemned present immigration restrictions intended to slow the spread of COVID-19. Those fleeing or making the journey to the United States are facing border restrictions and public health regulations that seek to deter movement. People in Guatemala and Mexico have reported reduced access to work and asylum amid the pandemic, lack of mobility, higher levels of anxiety and stress, reduced availability of basic goods, and increased racism and xenophobia, continued the report. Next story. In a landmark ruling, the European Court of Human Rights has declared that bulk communications gathering by Britain's GCHQ spy agency was illegal, proving whistleblower Edward Snowden right, and prompting more calls for the former NSA contractor to be pardoned. The court noted that there were fundamental deficiencies in the GCHQ's interception of communications, namely that no politician or independent body had authorized the data gathering, that search terms GCHQ used to trawl through the data had not been included in a warrant application, and that individual names, email addresses, and phone numbers had not been authorized to be used by the spooks. Snowden revealed that the GCHQ was scouring all online and telephone data in the UK via a program code named Tempora. Former editor of The Guardian, Alan Rusbridger, who had to destroy hard drives given to him by Snowden in 2013 before the government seized them, lauded the ruling. Snowden responded, saying that he couldn't have done what he did without journalists and human rights lawyers. The ruling led to new calls for Snowden, still hiding out in Moscow, as well as WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, languishing in prison, to be given their lives back. The GCHQ continues to spy on British citizens. As we reported last November, it has been monitoring the movement of British people minute by minute to check if they are complying with government restrictions. According to reports, the spy agency embedded a cell within number 10 Downing Street in order to provide Prime Minister Boris Johnson with real-time information pertaining to the public's movements. Next story. A member of the Canadian Armed Forces has been charged for allegedly trying to encourage fellow servicemen to defy orders in distributing what he called the killer C-word V-word, the Department of National Defence has said. Officer Cadet Ladilas Kenderesi has been charged with endeavoring to persuade another person to join in a mutiny and behaving in a scandalous manner unbecoming of an officer. Kenderesi was charged on May 12 by the Canadian Forces National Investigation Service in relation to an anti-lockdown rally in Toronto on December 5. An investigation was initiated shortly thereafter and the individual's uniform was retrieved in December 2020, the Canadian Forces said, as reported by Global News on Tuesday. Footage of Kenderesi shows him taking to the stage at the event last year dressed in his military uniform and name badge, and addressing a crowd on a microphone. He applauded those gathered for having the courage to come out and tell the government that tyranny doesn't rule over Canadians. He also referred to a C-word 19 killer V-word with unknown side effects and called on active servicemen, truck drivers and others involved in the jabs rollout not to assist the distribution efforts. Kenderesi, who is a member of the Reserve Cadet Instructor Cadre in Ontario, is charged under the National Defence Act. The charge against him is the first of its kind handed down by the Canadian Armed Forces in decades, according to the Ottawa Citizen. A GoFundMe page set up to finance the officer's legal costs said Kenderesi could face up to life in prison if convicted over the alleged offence. However, local media citing defence sources have said such a severe punishment is highly unlikely.